if you watch for these, you'll see cameras all over the place. They use cameras for all kind of different purposes. But anyway, I was watching a video here a few minutes ago on YouTube. This lady, well, she's in Pacific Northwest around the Washington State area. But anyway, she talked about these flex capacitor, or not flex capacitors, Fox cameras. The particular company behind these, and I suspect there's probably more than one, excuse me, there's probably a number of companies doing this. Now, these cameras she was talking about are used by law enforcement. They're to pick up people that have committed a crime, one type or another. They'll read the license plates. They'll watch the face. So you send up AI technology to kind of compare the face with other lawbreakers. That's the purpose. Now, when I was in high school, I took science fiction literature class. Now, you had to read a handful of books and just different books of your choice, and turn in reports on them. And one book I remember pretty clearly was 1984. Now, if you haven't read it, go read it. I'm sure you can find here on the internet. I think they've actually made a couple of movies from the book 1984. But anyway, in the book, this guy had worked for. Well, the government was only good for generating propaganda. It was monitoring everybody and creating propaganda. That's what all the government was good for. You couldn't believe anything that any information that you got up from the government. Kind of reminds me of some of the communist countries. And surprisingly, is some of them that are still around. They're just so controlling that people really can't get out from under them. The first thing that people do when they have the means, they'll leave these communist countries. But anyway, these cameras are, kind of remind me of the storyline in the book 1984, where the government's monitoring everybody. Now, what you can do, now this doesn't work on a nice clean car, but if you got like an SUV or if you got like a service truck, you can splash a little bit of mud up on if you got mud all over the vehicle, if you got mud on the license plate, you can get away with this kind of. So if you got like a 4-wheel drive and cop pulled you over and said, "Well, we can't read your license plate," you don't want to cover the whole license plate. Just cover something in the middle of the plate. Just splash a little bit of mud up on the license plate. Where you can. Well, this looks like an accident. Like I said, on a service truck, you put a bit of oil on there. You say, "Well, look, I was working on some equipment, and oil got splashed on there." I don't know. Eventually, cops got to ask you to wash it off. You wash it off for a few days and then cover it back again. Just to keep these cameras from watching you. Of course, the best thing. Of course, there's a logic that says, well, if you haven't broken any laws, why should you worry about it? There's also the thought that you put a sticker on there backing a particular candidate, and that candidate's opponent gets in office. And they say, well, look, I want everybody arrested that has a sticker. Now, this could happen. That they say, well, look, we read this sticker off of your car and we don't like you. We're going to put you in jail for having my opponent's sticker on your car. Who knows? The last thing I want to cover is for Nancy Guthrie. Now the sheriff has gone through all the DNA they found in that house. Now, the last time I was in Tucson was in the early '80s, and I never did any work. The only work I've done here has been in the valley. I've never. Time I was in down Tucson. I'll cover that some other time, but I don't know if that house was even built. Last time I was in Tucson. But if I had been a service guy or delivery guy or something, maybe the pool guy, maybe the guy that worked on the air conditioner, I think I would want to go to the sheriff and say, look, 2 years ago I worked on the air conditioner, or 3 years ago I did some wiring in his house. I think I'd want to explain what I had done. If I had done work in that house, go to the sheriff and say, look, my DNA could be there. This is what I did, just so they're not tracing down some oddball DNA that that's not relevant to anything going on now. I think if I had been a delivery guy for Amazon and maybe I accidentally hit the doorbell or a fence post or something where they probably look for the stray DNA, just kind of let them know that nothing I want to cover. No, I haven't yet, but at some point in time, I want to do one of those like 24andMe or one of the ones where they'll take your DNA and figure out who your ancestors were and stuff. Now, what they will do, now, if you've ever done one of those tests, I did a video like this maybe a year ago. You know, more warning my kinfolk to watch themselves. But if you've ever taken one of those tests, your DNA is out there. Unless a second or third cousin has broken the law somewhere, they're gonna go back. They're gonna go through your DNA and they say, well, look, um, this person is, they're not gonna look at you because the chromosomes, the different. Let me get to what DNA is here in a second. Um, but they're going to look at the DNA and they say, well, look, this is obviously somebody distantly related to them, and they're going to figure out who this second or third cousin is, and figure out who they are. So if you're any kinfolk of mine, you might want to be careful and not commit any crimes because my DNA will be out there, and they can trace your DNA. Now let me get what DNA is. DNA deoxyribonucleic acid. That's what it's for. There's four different chemicals. Let's see. There's adenine, thymine, guanine, and there's four of them. ATC. Yeah, it's been many years since I've covered this, but there's four. That's like when you see on the DNA chains. There's the A, T, C, and G. Yeah. Adenine, thymine, guanine. But if you're interested in this, look up DNA and this will all come up. There's better explanation than what I can. But it's just four chemicals arranged in millions of different combinations that make up DNA. And then there's the other forms of chemical markers. There's reptile DNA and there's different forms of it and different types of critters. And who knows what the little green guys have. Neanderthals. Neanderthals fascinate me. I don't know why, because I've seen some very cute pictures of Neanderthal chicks on here on YouTube. People that have done videos on Neanderthals, and I can see why early humans interbred with them because they're cute looking. Of course, that's just one artist's interpretation of what they might look like. I don't think anybody really knows what Neanderthals look like. Hey, if I periodically think of that movie Jurassic Park, where they found DNA in some of the amber, and they recreated all the critters that existed back in the back in ancient history. Now, if we had a technology to do it, should we recreate those guys? Of course, in Jurassic Park, they all turned wild and become a problem. If we could find some Neanderthal DNA, do we have the right to create Neanderthals? Maybe we'll find that the Neanderthals were smarter than us. Maybe if we create a society of Neanderthals, maybe they'll take over. They'll say, hey, we're stronger, we're better. Maybe they'll take over and maybe they'll breed us all out of existence like we did for them, 30, 40,000 years ago. Just my wild thoughts. I still find Neanderthal chicks cute. Wouldn't mind having a Neanderthal chick for a girlfriend. Now, they weren't stupid. They were just more physical, but stronger than us. But, I'm pretty sure they had language, culture. They found some of their grave sites. They found some evidence of very spiritual beliefs and culture and stuff. I just love dwelling on Neanderthals. If we had the technology to create Neanderthals, do we have the right to bring them back into existence? Just want to toss that out there. And on Flox cameras, cover your license plate with a little bit of oil and mud and stuff so they can't read them. And wear sunglasses so you look cool. The cameras won't. Of course, I got to wear prescription glasses when I'm driving or I'm not legal. Okay, ciao.